Hi! Hello! My name is Kat, and today I'm going to be reading a short story that I wrote. So this is the first short story that I have completed, and if you want to know more about my process and inspiration and if I'm going to do more with this idea, I will do another video talking about all that, so if you have questions, you can leave those down below. But for this video, I want to get straight to the reading, just as soon as I give this really quick disclaimer. This is actually the first time that I'm sharing this story with anyone, so I haven't revised off of feedback. I don't consider this done, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I don't know, I just think it's fun and cute, and I want to share some of my writing and hopefully entertain you for 25 minutes or so. So let's do this. Okay, here we go. This is my short story called The Chosen One's Girlfriend. The chosen one is late, Philippa announces to the others as the clock ticks over. Again. I'm sure she's on her way, Kevin says. And you shouldn't call her that. You know she doesn't like it. You're right. I should call her by her title, Philippa says. What is it again? She who is too good for schedules? Kevin rolls his eyes but doesn't otherwise reply. The girl's actual title is just as ridiculous, in Philippa's opinion. The prophecy refers to her as she who rises against the night. Yes, really. Philippa is still getting used to the fact that prophecies and supernatural creatures are now indeed fact. When the underworld first went public, she only half believed the reports she saw on TV. A lot of people weren't convinced. It was 2019 after all. It could have been visual effects or some kind of movie promotion or viral marketing scheme. 6 months ago, it would have sounded like the premise of a book or a show. Vampires and werewolves suddenly wanting protective legislation, and demons and ghouls becoming public hazards. Now, every morning, after the weather report, a medium comes on to give a spiritual activity forecast, letting the public know which parts of the city are better avoided until the exorcists can clear the area. It's the kind of thing you just can't believe until you see it yourself, until it's in your town, lurking in your cemeteries, haunting your favorite coffee shop, or sleeping in the back of homeroom, as was the case with Jane Fitzgerald. Jane was outed as the chosen one when she saved the city from disaster and negotiated a brand new government-funded job out of it, complete with perks like bodyguards, high-tech gadgets, a PR team, and a research lab. Philippa's not sure what exactly she is. Human, mostly, she thinks, but the girl does have super strength and the ability to fly, and maybe also something to do with x-rays. And of course there's the prophecy about her. Philippa doesn't actually know all the details about that. She doesn't pay much attention to underworld politics. Which is why, unlike most everyone else, she's never been all that impressed with Jane. Even less so since being assigned to a group project with her. Well, I guess we'll get started without her, Philippa grumbles as she passes around the outline, divvying up the chapters they need to cover. Group projects are, by nature, a special kind of hell, and the misery and injustice is only compounded this time because of course Philippa is stuck with she who does not care about others' grades. Jane has been late to every meeting so far, and when she does show up, she leaves early. She gets exceptions made and deadlines extended, and the brunt of the work falls back onto the others, and Jane doesn't even notice. The teachers look the other way, public officials want to throw her a parade, and yes, she did save that plane from crashing into the downtown skyscrapers, but come on, a parade? Finally, the chosen one arrives. You wouldn't think she was special just from looking at her. She never really stood out before. Average height, average weight, not bad looking, but not particularly pretty. She doesn't seem to put much effort into her appearance. Today she's wearing jeans, well-worn Converse, and a wrinkled t-shirt. Her short dark hair is sticking up in all directions, like maybe she didn't even bother brushing it. She looks like she just rolled out of bed. There's a slump to her step, dark circles under her eyes, and she has a paper cup of coffee and a death grip in one hand. She's followed by two men in sleek suits, both wearing sunglasses and earpieces. Her bodyguards. Philippa heard the school reach some kind of compromise with Jane's parents and the government so she could still graduate like a normal student, even though everyone knows she's anything but. So now there's always someone from the government, trailing behind her like a sidekick. Sorry I'm late, she says through a yawn. Last night was the full moon. Werewolves. You know how it is. Philippa crosses her arms over her chest with a little huff. We all have after-school jobs too, Jane, and we still showed up on time. Jane scoffs. This isn't a job, she says, as if to imply it's so much more. It's not just a job, it's my purpose, my destiny, my sacred duty. Gag. Look, if you're late again, you're out, Philippa says bluntly. We're sick of covering for you. I have a responsibility, Jane says, and it sounds like she's going to start quoting the prophecy by means of an excuse, so Philippa quickly continues. Then go serve your responsibility. Save the world or whatever, but you don't need to drag all of our grades down just because you've deluded yourself into thinking you can do it all. Show up on time or drop the class. Do you need me to write this down on some old paper? Is that what it takes for you to pay attention? Jane's only response is a withering glare, and Philippa is briefly relieved the girl can't shoot lasers from her eyes, though it certainly looks like she's trying. The next meeting for the group project is Friday afternoon, and Jane Fitzgerald is right on time. Philippa can't help but feel a little smug about this. Looks like the chosen one isn't above schedules, if you put a little pressure on her. But 5 minutes into the meeting, Jane's fancy wristwatch starts beeping an alarm, and she bolts to her feet. I have to go. What? No! Philippa protests, even as the teacher nods and motions for Jane and her bodyguards to leave. Oh, no you don't, Philippa says, chasing after her. She catches the other girl just through the door, in the hallway, grabbing her arm to get her to stop. It's like holding onto a steel pole. The girl doesn't budge, even when Philippa puts her weight into a tug. Jane sighs and lazily pries Philippa's hand away, but she doesn't let go. She easily pins both of Philippa's wrists together, despite Philippa struggling against her grip, which is just unfair. Jane is shorter than her, and her arms aren't really that much bigger. She shouldn't be this strong. This shouldn't be possible. Jane Fitzgerald defies physics, and Philippa would know. She aced AP Physics. How dare you? Unhand me, she demands. Oh my God, Jane says. Can you not be a bitchy mean girl for one afternoon? Oh, so me wanting you to pull your weight in the group project is bitchy? Do you think I don't notice how you're always glaring and sneering at me? You didn't even know I existed until 6 months ago, and you've been giving me shit nonstop ever since. Well, someone has to. Everyone else treats you like you're God's gift to humanity just because some old scroll says you can fight monsters. So now you get to do whatever you want, and we're all left dealing with the fallout. That's not true, Jane says, but there's an undercurrent of uncertainty in her tone, and it pushes Philippa over the edge. It's like a switch flips, and she snaps into full-on rant mode. Do you ever think about the people who have to pick up after you? Or the people affected by all your special government perks? Everyone is constantly catering to you and waiting on you and rescheduling because of you. Did you know my valedictorian speech is being cut in half because they want you to speak at graduation too? Who cares about the girl who worked her ass off through honors classes for 4 years when we have our very own superhero on the attendance sheet? And sure, there's a long row of absent marks under her name, but hey, at least she stops by every now and then. Honestly, I'm surprised they haven't built a statue of you yet. Jane's face is blank, unreadable. Sirens start to blare in the distance. Miss Fitzgerald, says one of the bodyguards urgently. Now. I have to go, Jane says, and she releases Philippa. Yeah, destiny calls, mutters Philippa, massaging her wrists. Jane is already running off, too fast to track, the feds in the suits lagging behind her. Later that night, Philippa is finishing up her math homework when there's a light tapping sound at her window. She looks up, confused. Not only is she not expecting company, but she's definitely not expecting company at her second-story window. She crosses her room, and through the glass she sees Jane Fitzgerald floating in the sky, mocking gravity. Isaac Newton must be rolling in his grave. Too good to use the door, Philippa says by way of greeting as she opens the window. No, Jane stammers. I wasn't sure if I should knock this late. I didn't want to wake up your parents or anything. Not here, Philippa says, moving to sit on the windowsill. They're in London for some kind of expo or summit. They left you unsupervised? She asks, and it's not judgment that colors her tone, but wonder, laced with envy. It's only for a few days, Philippa says, and with a quick glance down at the street, she realizes that the other girl is actually alone for once too. Speaking of unsupervised, where are your bodyguards? Ugh, probably closing in as we speak. I can never ditch them for long. Philippa blinks. Ditch them? Do you honestly think I like having handlers around me all the time? It's at their insistence. That and the tracker. She holds up her wrist to show the metal cuff, not just a tacky bracelet. Now that Philippa gets a closer look at it, she sees it's more a manacle than a wristwatch. That seems invasive. Well, they can't lose control of the asset. Geez, those government perks must really be worth it then if you're still doing it. Jane gives Philippa a strange look. What makes you think I had any choice in the matter? She asks, her voice soft. Before Philippa can scrape together a response, Jane goes on. Look, I really am sorry about missing the group meetings. And I can't promise I won't be late again, but I can promise I'll still do my share of the work. Here. She hands Philippa a folder. My notes on the next section. Color-coded, like you wanted. This isn't due until Monday. I know, but now you don't have to worry I won't do it. Oh, good. I mean, thanks. Is that a bruise? The light catches on Jane's cheek and shines violet. Oh my God, are you hurt? It's nothing, she says, moving back a little so the shadows conceal her face again. I heal fast. Right. Of course she does. She's the special one. Well, I'm sure you have lots of important things to do, demons to slay, people to save, Philippa says, getting up from the windowsill and moving to close the glass. I'll see you Monday. Yeah, says Jane. See you Monday. Philippa returns to her desk, flipping through Jane's notes. They're actually quite good, comprehensive, and, as promised, color-coded in the way Philippa instructed in the group chat. Maybe the chosen one isn't completely useless with schoolwork after all. It hasn't been more than a few minutes when there's another soft knock on the glass. She glances over, but can't see anything beyond the brightness of her room. Did the other girl forget something? Philippa opens the window and leans out, looking around for she who taps on windows instead of just texting. Jane? From the darkness, a monstrous face bursts into view. The creature is pale and twisted, with black eyes and blood-red lips, and even though she's never seen one in person before, the word pops immediately into her mind. Vampire. Not Jane, the creature rasps, teeth flashing in the moonlight. Then it grabs Philippa by her shirt collar and yanks her through the window and up into the night sky. When Philippa wakes up, she's lying on cold, hard pavement. She's finally coming to, drawls a voice behind her. Good, comes the growling reply. If this does not work, it will. The chosen one will come for her. Philippa opens her eyes, wincing even though it's not very bright. Her head is aching. Her whole body is aching. Where is she? She blinks and her surroundings slowly come into focus. 3 walls of brick and 1 of thick metal bars trap her in a cell the size of a closet. Beyond the bars stand 2 tall figures with black eyes and pallid gray skin. Vampires. With a gasp, Philippa backs away from them as much as she can, pressing herself against the brick. What do you want from me? Oh, child, it's not you we want. It's the chosen one. Jane? The vampire woman smiles. And when she finds out we have her girlfriend, she'll come running right to us. For a moment, Philippa can't seem to make any sound, though not for lack of trying. Girlfriend? You think me? Oh, no, you've got it all wrong. Oh, don't lie to me. I saw how you were together. What? We're just classmates. We're doing a group project together, but that's it. I promise you I am not her girlfriend. I don't even like her. She lies, says the male one in his croaking voice. His tone sends a chill up Philippa's spine. Prepare my blades. I want her ready for cutting by the time I return. Oh, now you've done it, howls the woman as the man storms off with a swish of his cape. He requests his blades. You'll be telling the truth in no time. But I'm not lying. I swear I'm not. I'm no one to her. Philippa cries, daring to move forward so she can grip the bars. Please, whatever you're planning, it won't work. She won't come for me. For your sake, I hope that's not true, the woman says as she starts walking away, footsteps echoing down a long, dark hallway. If she's not coming for you, nobody is. Hours pass. The vampires never return with knives. Philippa is hoping they forgot about her. Aren't they supposed to have a warped sense of time, the immortality and all? Maybe they left. Maybe she'll starve to death all alone down here before anyone even starts looking for her. Feeling tired and hungry and defeated, she slumps down in one corner of her cell. These psycho vampires really thought Jane would come for her? She won't even notice Philippa is missing, and even if she did, she might just send the vampires a thank you card. But if Philippa can make it to Monday, the school will notice her missing. It must be Saturday evening by now, so that puts her at another day and a half, maybe 2, before she's found. She just has to survive being caged up for 2 measly days. She can do this. She got a 1590 on her SATs. She can do anything. Once Philippa has decided to believe she'll be rescued, she starts to get annoyed. This is all Jane's fault. Philippa should be home, comfortably studying right now, not spending her weekends locked in some grungy dungeon prison because of the chosen one. How the hell did she get tangled up in Jane Fitzgerald's nonsense? For a moment, she's overcome with a wave of despair. She feels like sobbing and sinking down to the floor. But no. No, she is not going to waste away here, and she is not going to wait on Jane again. She's done enough waiting on Jane during school hours. It is not about to bleed into her weekend. She starts closely inspecting her prison cell, looking at the cage door for loose bolts or shoddy soldering. She tries to shake and bend the bars, but they're way too thick. They won't move. Then she finds a loose bolt. She starts unscrewing it, pinching, twisting. It's hard work. Her fingertips are aching, rubbed raw by the end of it, but at last she works the screw free and it drops against the cement with a cling. She did it! Well, she did one. There are at least a dozen more she'll have to unscrew by hand to get out, but she can get out. She can do this. She's going to save herself. That's when the thundering footsteps approach, and Jane Fitzgerald comes bursting into sight. "Philippa," she says, her shoulders sagging with relief. "Oh, come on," Philippa groans. "What are you doing here?" "What am I?" Jane huffs. "Are you mad that I'm here to save you?" No, I'm not mad. I'm just..." Philippa trails off, temporarily distracted by Jane prying the bars apart with her hands, the muscles in her arms bulging as the metal bends like limp clay. Whoa. She's really strong. "What?" the other girl asks, and Philippa realizes she's just standing there, staring, her mouth hanging slightly open. "Nothing," she says quickly. "Come on," Jane says, waving Philippa toward her so she can help her climb through the gap. "I got in this way." Jane leads her up a rickety set of stairs. They seem to be in some kind of old, abandoned warehouse. When the path forks, they go right, down a dim hallway. But before they get to the end of it, there's a riot of noise above, and a section of the ceiling comes crashing down right in front of them, blocking the way. As the cloud of dust clears, Philippa can see the vampire woman perched on top of the barricade. "Jane Fitzgerald," she drawls, casually twirling a dagger in her hand. "She who rises against the night. We knew you would come to rescue your girlfriend." "Wait, what?" Jane stops short. "She is not my girlfriend." "You see? I told you!" Philippa shouts at the vampire woman. Then to Jane she insists. "I told them that!" "Watch out!" Jane darts suddenly forward, hand reaching. Her fingers wrap around an arrow, stopping it centimeters from Philippa's face. "Nice catch," the vampire woman exclaims as the man jumps down from the rafters and lands at her side on the pile of wreckage. He's holding a crossbow, his cape billowing behind him. Two vampires, armed with weapons and fangs, against two girls, only one of whom is chosen. Philippa gulps. "Stay behind me," Jane says. "Oh, look who's all protective." "No matter. You and your annoying girlfriend will still die." "She is not my girlfriend," Jane yells, backing away with Philippa. "Or annoying," Philippa squeaks in protest. Jane raises an eyebrow at her as if to say, "Actually, I'd give him that one." "Hey!" "This way," Jane says quickly. Then she's pulling on Philippa's wrist, and they're racing down the hall together. They take a left, then a sudden right, and it seems like Jane knows exactly where she's going. For a second, Philippa feels a glimmer of hope that they're going to escape, but then they round the corner, and they've reached the end of the hallway. "Shit," Jane says, looking around frantically. "If we can just get out of this building." And that's when Philippa realizes that Jane has no idea what she's doing, and the vampires are closing in, and the girls have corralled themselves into a dead end. This is it. There's no way out. Oh my God, we're gonna die," Philippa says, her panic boiling over. "Listen, I'm sorry for all of it." "Philippa," Jane tries to interrupt, but she goes on. "I was being a bitchy mean girl, and you still came to save me even though you didn't have to, and now we're both gonna be eaten by really dramatic vampires." "Philippa!" "I thought vampires were supposed to be like normal people now. Wasn't that the whole point of them going public? That one on Ellen wore a plaid suit. He had a man bun." "Philippa! Nobody is going to die. Now shut up and come here." She suddenly puts her hands on Philippa's waist and pulls her closer. "I'm gonna need you to put your arms around my neck. Yeah, like that. And be ready to hold on tight, okay?" "Okay," Philippa whimpers. Her heart is beating even faster now, standing this close to the other girl. Her eyes flicker to Jane's lips, and then down to the girl's hand, where she fumbles with something dark and egg-shaped. "What's that?" Philippa asks. It looks suspiciously like a grenade. Jane uses her teeth to yank out the pin. A government perk. She throws it down the hallway toward the approaching vampires, then turns to shield Philippa from the heat and debris of the blast. As the sound from the explosion fades, a strange creaking starts to shake the walls. No, wait, it's the walls that are making that noise. The building's coming down, Philippa realizes with horror. Sure is, Jane says, grinning. Then she sweeps one arm under Philippa's legs to better carry her. Hold on tight, she warns, and she launches them both upwards. Philippa can't help the scream that bursts from her lips as they rise, dodging falling debris. There's a terrible groaning of metal and snapping of wood as the building collapses. The girls break out into the clear night sky just as the warehouse gives a final rattle and crumbles. Philippa lets out a shaky breath and buries her face in Jane's neck, holding on to the other girl for dear life as they soar away from the chaos. They land in Philippa's backyard. Jane sets her down, and even though her knees are still wobbly, it feels good to be back on solid ground. Still, it's somewhat reluctantly that she pulls away from the other girl and puts a gap of space between them. There's a dragging moment of silence, and then Philippa breaks it. I guess this is where I say thank you for saving my life. It's what I do, Jane says with a nonchalant shrug, like this is just another Saturday night. Maybe for her it is. Philippa presses her lips together, unsure, but then she has to ask, how exactly did you know to save me? The group chat, Jane explains. The others kept asking questions and you weren't replying. Then Kevin joked that you were probably dead or kidnapped, and that was funny for about 4 seconds before we realized it was actually the most likely scenario. I flew by your house and saw the window open. Knew something must have happened. But how did you know where I was? I didn't even know where I was. Oh, that. Well, she says, looking off to the side sheepishly. I had everyone at headquarters combing through the city's CCTV feeds until they found you. She gives a little shrug. Government perk. Jane, I really am sorry for giving you such a hard time about all that. I only saw the perks. I wasn't thinking about the pressure and the danger and the sacrifices. I've been unfair to you, and I'm sorry. It's all right, Jane says, waving a hand dismissively. But thanks for saying that. Well, thanks again for saving me. She pauses. Even though it was entirely your fault I was kidnapped. My fault, Jane says, and for a second Philippa worries that her teasing didn't play off right. But then she notices Jane smiling through her exaggerated expression of offense. How did the vampires even get to you? Oh my god, you invited one in, didn't you? No, of course not. I've seen those PSAs. I'm not an idiot, Philippa says. I was just, leaning out the window a little when they grabbed me. Leaning out the window? Didn't think we needed a separate PSA warning against that. Hey, my point is, I was just bait. They were trying to get your attention. They thought I was your girlfriend. Well, they were wrong about that, Jane says quickly. Yeah, really wrong, Philippa says. Totally wrong. Jane lets out a little laugh. Could you even imagine? God, right? Philippa scoffs, but for a second, she does imagine it. Her mind latches onto the memory of being close to the other girl, the warmth of her body and the smell of her hair, like coconut and the sky after it rains. The way her muscles were hard, but her touch was gentle, and her skin was so soft. The way Jane took control of the situation and protected her and kept her safe, and then effortlessly carried her through the sky as though she weighed nothing. And did Philippa really think Jane wasn't that pretty before? How did she not notice the swirl of green and brown in her hazel eyes, and the dimple that creases one cheek when she smiles, and the way her lips... Anyways, Jane says, clearing her throat, I should probably go. Right, yeah, Philippa says, snapping herself out of it, hoping her cheeks aren't blazing red in the dark. Good night. I'll see you Monday, Jane says, taking a step back and jumping into the air. She starts to float up and away into the night. Assuming you don't get kidnapped again. Philippa huffs out a laugh. Assuming you actually show up to class, she shouts back. Jane flashes one last grin, then turns and shoots through the air, flying off toward the city, a streak of blue and gold across the sky. Philippa watches until she's out of sight. Then she goes inside and tries to shake Jane from her thoughts, to little success. When curiosity gets the better of her, she gives in, goes to the computer, and starts looking into the prophecy she never much cared about before. She can't quite pinpoint it, but it feels as though something has changed. It feels as though something is beginning. 7 miles away, on the other side of the city, one vampire turns to the other with a smile. I told you kidnapping the blonde one would work, she says. Everything went perfectly according to plan. Her brother lets out a frustrated sigh. You can't keep doing this, he says. You've got to stop playing matchmaker with unsuspecting mortals. But I'm so good at it, she argues with a toothy grin. When this one sticks, I'll be 5 for 5. And stop getting my lairs destroyed, he goes on as though she said nothing. I really liked that one. It was near the good coffee shop. Why can't you just watch reality TV like the rest of us? Oh, don't act as though that wasn't fun for you too. You got to wear your cape and do the voice and everything. Well, no more, he says. I am a classically trained actor and this is below me. I'm done. Exclude me from your future meddlings. With a dramatic flourish of his cape, he strides from the room. 5 seconds later, he pokes his head back in. But you'll let me know if something happens between them. He gestures at the scrying pool in front of his sister. I do hope they get together. The vampire woman glances again at the frozen image of the two girls smiling shyly at one another as they said goodnight. Oh, they will, she assures him with a satisfied smirk. They just needed a little push. The end. All right, that is it. That is my short story. I really hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, you can give this video a thumbs up or leave me a comment letting me know. If you really liked this and want me to make more content like this, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. And huge shout out to my existing patrons. Y'all are some real ones. Thank you. But yeah, that is gonna do it for this video today. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful night. And I will have another video up soon. So I will see you then. Bye!